The 2024 Apple Watch Series X, or 10, was said to be the biggest change to ever come to the Apple Watch, in order to mark its 10-year anniversary. And recently we've had the full CAD model leaked, showing us the actual design of the Series 10. So here's the full picture, everything that's changing and everything that isn't. First things first, we've got the design. The leaked CAD renders were posted by 91 Mobiles, who have previously accurately leaked CADs of various other products. Now, if we take a look at the Series 10, it doesn't seem to have any major redesign. There are no squared off sides or any other notable design changes like Mark Gurman previously reported. In fact, Mark Gurman did update his report recently that indeed all standard Apple Watch models will still resemble the Series 4 from 2018 rather than being a complete redesign like he initially stated. Now, if that sounds very disappointing, which I do agree, it actually does, I do have some good news for you. Despite us not getting a full redesign, we are still getting some changes and improvements. First, the speaker now seems to have been split into a dual speaker, which also seems to take up way more surface area than before. So it is very likely that the speaker inside the Series 10 will be louder than the current speaker and probably more similar in quality and volume to the one inside the Apple Watch Ultra. Second, both the crown and the side button do appear to be quite a bit bigger than they are now. In fact, the crown is now 9.5mm in diameter from 7.5 and very similar to the 10mm size on the Apple Watch Ultra. And third, the thickness of the watch, like previously reported, is actually decreasing by around 1mm in terms of the actual body and by up to a whopping 1.8mm in terms of the sensor area, making it noticeably thinner than the Series 9. Of course, these measurements are based on the CAD leak. The final thickness may be different. Still, a thinner Apple Watch does seem to align with Apple's reported mission of making each device they launch the thinnest product in their category, which is what they've already done with the iPad Pro. I don't believe the Series 10 will be the thinnest smartwatch by any means, but it is definitely on the way to become that if Apple keeps reducing its thickness every single year. Speaking of thickness, you know what else is thick? And that's thick with a double C. The fact that I recently went to London to try the Omoda E5 EV and I was genuinely impressed. Starting at a lower price than the MG4 and the Kia Niro, the build quality is super premium, with leather materials everywhere and even RGB lighting. The WLTP rated range is 257 miles, and coming from a 61 kWh battery, this is super impressive. Utilizing 99% of the battery at all times and custom motors that offer 96% energy efficiency, Omoda's battery management is surprisingly economical. You also get Snapdragon's powerful 8155 automotive chip to power a bunch of their smart systems. And I absolutely love their 3D view that even incorporates the 3D model of the Omoda E5. Look at how quick it reacts. And almost all automakers forget cooled wireless charging, which is so underrated on the E5. Great for CarPlay or Android Auto, while also charging at 50 watts. Thank you, Omoda, for the awesome experience. And if you guys are interested, simply click the link below to learn more. Now, back to the video. Probably the biggest change of this Apple Watch generation is the overall size of the watch. Unlike the Series 7, 8, and 9, which came in at 41 and 45mm, the Series 10 is set to remove the 41 entirely and instead offer it in 45 and the brand new 49mm size. This does explain the larger crown and the larger side button. 49mm would literally be the same sized case as the Apple Watch Ultra. What is even more interesting is that based on the CAD models, the display on the 49mm will be even larger than on the Apple Watch Ultra, measuring in at a full 2 inches as opposed to 1.97 on the Apple Watch Ultra or 1.7 on the 45mm Series 9. Yes, the 49mm Apple Watch Series 9 will have the biggest display on any Apple Watch ever. So when I first heard this, I was like, okay, I guess having a 49mm standard version of the Apple Watch is great for people who love big watches, but don't want to get the Apple Watch Ultra. But then losing the 41mm model, that's surely going to upset a lot of people, right? Like, I know a good amount of people who use the 41mm version of the Apple Watch. Forcing them to upgrade to a much larger 45mm model seems like one of the worst moves yet. Not even to mention that a lot of kids also use Apple Watches too. And for them, even the 41mm model is oftentimes way too big. Like, even for me, the 45mm version of the Apple Watch is a bit too big for my wrist. The previous 44mm case of the Apple Watch Series 4, 5, and 6 was a much better fit for me. Well, I do actually have some good news here. You see, despite having a larger display than the Apple Watch Ultra, the 49mm version of the Apple Watch Series 10 actually only measures 46mm in height. Now, if you're wondering how's that even possible considering the massive display, all you need to do is to take a look at the display from a top-down view. On the Series 9, you can see the display, the bezels, and then quite a bit of the metal body. On the Series 10, you can only see the display and the bezels. Almost no body is visible at all. So what seems to be the case is that they extended the display by making the body less curved at the top, which means that unlike in the previous leaks, which stated a 45mm and a 49mm body, in reality, we could simply see a 42 and a 46mm body instead, so only a 1mm increase. All while still getting that substantial display size increase from 1.7 inches to 2 inches in the case of the 46mm model. This would also be in line with Apple's previous Apple Watch case size increases, which went up by 2mm from the Series 3 to the 4, and then by 1mm from the 6 to the 7, but never more than that. Speaking of dimension changes, apparently, the logic board of the Apple Watch Series 10 is also getting thinner, according to Digitimes, as Apple will now be using resin-coated copper inside the logic board, allowing for a thinner design that in turn will free up some internal space. This space could be used for a larger battery, or it could also be used to bring that sensor area back into the body, allowing for that slimmer sensor that is visible on the CAD model. And according to Ming-Chi Kuo, the Apple Watch Series 10 will be the first to utilize 3D printing technology for some of its components, including their Apple Watch cases. This wouldn't necessarily make the Apple Watch any thinner, but it would allow Apple to reduce their manufacturing costs, possibly allowing them to keep the price the same as it is now, whilst also giving us extra features, like a noticeably larger display. Now, I do have some Apple Watch Ultra updates too. For example, Mark Gurman states that the 3rd gen Apple Watch Ultra will have roughly the same look as the original, which means that if we do see some design changes, these changes will be very minor. Probably as minor as a brand new color. Do you guys remember the black titanium color that was rumored to come with the 2nd gen Ultra last year? Although it never did. Well, apparently that was also supposed to come with the very first Apple Watch Ultra. Apple even had some prototypes of the 1st gen Ultra in that black titanium color. Who knows, maybe the 3rd time's the charm, right? Like, I'm not a big Ultra fan myself, mostly because it was just way too big on my wrist, and I much prefer the more stylish look of the stainless steel model. But if they do release it in black, then maybe, just maybe, I'll reconsider. Besides, I feel like if they do leave the design unchanged for the 3rd year in a row, they have to at least give the Ultra a brand new color, which would make a lot of sense for it to be that new black that they've already been testing. Now, since the design is not changing on the Ultra or the Series 10 either, that means that the band mounting mechanism is not changing either. So you'll still be able to use all of your current band collection for your existing Apple Watch, which I'm personally very happy to hear. And speaking of Apple Watch band collections, Nomad has released some fresh new designs that look absolutely gorgeous, which you can check out by using the link below. And speaking of gorgeous designs, if you want to get this beautiful watch face for your Apple Watch, it is part of our Tinted Tides Wallpapers pack, which you can also purchase individually on our brand new Wallpaper Store website, alongside 5 more stunning packs, like Super Spaceship, Stormy Swirls, Rainbow Rivers, Harmonious Hills, and Curious Cosmos, with our selection of packs resetting each week. All are available in 8K and usable on mobile, tablets, and desktop. And yes, you can even use the wallpapers as watch faces for your Apple Watch. And if you guys like this individual pack purchase idea, we'll bring this feature into our Wallpapers app too. And you can check both our Wallpapers app and our new Wallpapers Store website by using the links below. All this being said, you're probably wondering, are we ever going to get that Series 10 redesign, or has Apple canned it entirely? Well, there have been some reports that maybe, just maybe, they pushed it into 2025 instead, due to its complexity. On one hand, that does make sense. The redesign was supposed to have the new magnetic band mounting mechanism too, which definitely requires a lot of consideration in terms of not just the engineering of the mechanism itself, but the bands too. Plus, it also makes sense for Apple to redesign the Ultra as well, alongside its bands, when the standard model of the Apple Watch gets redesigned. Something that just wasn't rumored to happen with the Series Ultra at all. So I can't see why Apple would push this big redesign into 2025. Also, 2025 would technically be the actual 10-year anniversary of the Apple Watch's release. 2024 is simply the Apple Watch's 10-year anniversary since its introduction. But on the other hand, calling it Apple Watch X, so 10 just like they did with the iPhone 10, would have been perfect for this big redesign, as they just won't get that chance to do it next year anymore. And I feel like since they are still changing the Apple Watch's design this year by making the display bigger and the case sizes larger as well, I don't know. I would be genuinely surprised to see yet another body change in 2025 as well. But I would love to hear your thoughts. I'm Daniel, this is ZONEofTECH, and I'll see you guys in the next one. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.